Good evening, Americans, and welcome to the Ed Show tonight from New York. You are looking live at the Justice for Trayvon Martin rally in Sanford, Florida. There is late-breaking news tonight. Florida Governor Rick Scott has just announced a new state attorney and a task force to respond to the Trayvon Martin case. This story is far from over, and millions of Americans are still hungry for justice. This is the Ed Show. Let's get to work.
I have come to the decision that I must temporarily remove myself from the position as police chief.
Sanford's police chief is out, and the rally for Trayvon Martin is underway.
I only want one thing, and it's real simple. I want an arrest.
Tonight, Turner Clayton Jr. of the NAACP, the Huffington Post's Trumaine Lee, and Dr. James Peterson on America's perfect storm of injustice. The Etch-a-Sketch candidate is shaking up the facts again.
I keep hearing the president say that he's responsible for keeping America from going into a Great Depression. No. That was President George W. Bush and Hank Paulson.
The Washington Post's E.J. Dionne on the latest Mitt Romney delusion. Karl Rove and Newt Gingrich come down with a case of Obama derangement syndrome.
He's a Christian whose policies are to apologize to Muslim extremists while they're killing Americans.
Tonight, we'll cure them with the facts. And it's the American hero versus the American zero.
There are already mechanisms in place. No, you know what? This pisses me off.
Iraq veteran Tammy Duckworth is taking on alleged deadbeat dad Joe Walsh. Tonight, Tammy Duckworth is my exclusive guest. Good to have you with us tonight, folks. Thanks for watching. It's been 25 days since the killing of a Florida teenager, Trayvon Martin, and there is still no arrest of the shooter. There were major developments in the case today, with my commentary coming up in just a moment. Governor Rick Scott has changed the state attorney on the case. He has also announced a task force to convene after the investigation is complete. The Sanford police chief, Bill Lee, has temporarily stepped down.
While I stand by the Sanford Police Department, its personnel, and the investigation that was conducted in regards to the Trayvon Martin case, it is apparent that my involvement in this matter is overshadowing the process. Therefore, I have come to the decision that I must temporarily remove myself from the position as police chief for the city of Sanford. It is my hope the investigation process will move forward swiftly and appropriately through the justice system, and that a final determination in this case is reached.
A temporary move? What does that mean? The killing of Trayvon Martin has led to calls for the police chief to resign. Trayvon's parents said the police chief's action was not enough.
I think since the chief has stepped down, it's a temporary relief, but we need a permanent relief.
Yeah.
I still say we need an arrest.
We want an arrest, we want a conviction, and we want him sentenced for the murder of our son.
Just moments ago, thousands converged in Sanford, Florida. The rally led by my colleague here at MSNBC, the founder of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton. Earlier today, Trayvon's parents met with the United States Justice Department officials. The media included the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Florida, Robert O'Neill, and the official from the Civil Rights Division. The effects of Florida's Stand Your Ground law are coming to light like never before and under scrutiny. Reports of justifiable homicide have tripled in Florida after the law went into effect in 2005. The law has been invoked in 93 cases with 65 deaths. The law has been used as an excuse to shoot in deadly arguments between neighbors, in bar fights, in road rage incidents, and in gang shootings. U.S. Congressman Alise Hastings has called for the repeal of Florida's Stand Your Ground law. Self-defense is being twisted into a license to kill. It's worse when racism is added to the mix. Opponents of Florida's Stand Your Ground law predicted it would lead to racially motivated killings. Today, Congressman John Lewis said this.
It reminds me of that awful day, August 28, 1955, when Emmett Till was lynched in Mississippi. There should be a sense of righteous indignation in America, the same way that we had during the days of lynching and when people were being beaten in the streets during the height of the Civil Rights Movement.
The lynching of Emmett Till was in a different era before the Civil Rights Act. The killing of Trayvon Martin is another turning point in the nation's long history of coming to terms with race relations and simple justice. His death has caused a national outrage at an exponential level. Social media has galvanized shock and sadness in a way we haven't seen before. Americans are incensed by this killing. But we are also taking a good hard look at those so-called laws that are in the way, like the Stand Your Ground laws. The law passed in Florida in 2005 under pressure from the National Rifle Association and was later adopted by 19 other states. It took a citizen's right to self-defense and twisted it into a license to kill in many respects. The effects of this law have been building since 2005, and it took the death of a 17-year-old Trayvon Martin to shine a light on it. What we're witnessing here, I think we are witnessing the perfect storm of injustice in America. What we have here is a very poorly written law. We are living in a time when law enforcement is getting slashed to fit state budgets. And it's not happening in a vacuum. This is what these budget cuts are all about. We've got vigilantes out on the street when we should have more cops out on the street. Cops are on the beat, and they are under attack across this nation, and departments are understaffed. Over time, we're going to have a new atmosphere being created in this country. You know what it's going to be? Every man for himself. Is that what we want in America? We are truly becoming, because of all of these budget cutbacks across America, acting as if none of this is going to affect anything. You know what we're becoming? We're becoming leaner, and we're becoming meaner. And it's happening so fast, we can't even get justice in our system. Whether you are for or against your laws out there that say stand your ground, you will never see it in the same way again. The killing of Trayvon Martin draws a line of demarcation. Those in favor of these laws are forced to defend it. We may be witnessing a sea change, but again, only time will tell. Get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think. Tonight's question: should the Stand Your Ground laws in America be repealed? Text A for yes, text B for no to 622-639. And you can always go to our blog at ed.msnbc.com and leave a comment. I'll bring you the results of the poll later on in the show. I am joined tonight by Turner Clayton Jr., president of the Seminole County NAACP. Mr. Turner, good to have you with Mr. Clayton. Good to have you with us tonight. I appreciate your time. I want your reaction tonight, first to the news of the day of the Stanford Police Chief Bill Lee temporarily removing himself. What does temporary mean to you?
Well, this means that he is stepping aside just for the time it takes to conduct this investigation. Now, we here in the city of Sanford do not agree with that. We think that this man should be terminated, or he should tender his resignation.
And what's the reaction of the people there when they heard this news today? Did they think that this was some kind of window dressing to the situation, or did they think that this was a real move forward?
Well, they just take it as a temporary move forward. It's no real fix. So because the city commission had a 3-2 vote on last night that they had no faith in the chief, it was up to the city manager to make a decision. The city manager didn't want to make a decision on that. So at 12 o'clock noon today, myself along with a few other people had a meeting with the city manager, and we told him we wanted this man off the job as of today. No ifs and buts about it. So they decided that they would talk with him and force him into tendering a simple resignation of temporary.
So it wasn't until your meeting today at noon that this decision was made for the police chief to step aside for a while?
That is correct. They had said that they was not going to make any decision about the chief until all the reports have been completed and in. But like I said, we talked with him today. We told him that if he did not make a decision today, that we would go to the city commission and we would ask for his resignation. And of course, they also have the power to remove the city manager as well. So he realized that this was coming, so he decided that he would go to the chief and force him to temporarily step aside until the investigation is complete.
Well, Mr. Clayton, what you're telling us tonight is that all of this pressure is having an effect. What do you expect this rally tonight to have an effect on the community and on what is being handled in law enforcement and the operation of the city?
Well, this rally is definitely having an effect because of the number of people that showed up here tonight show their support for the Martin family and the fact that we're looking for justice. We want to make sure that justice prevails in this case. And of course, by having the chief of police step aside, that is only a small portion of the justice. Now the governor of the state of Florida has appointed a special prosecutor because we don't really have faith in the state attorney in this circuit to actually do the right thing. He wanted to pass the buck to a grand jury and have the grand jury make the decision for him. So I applaud the governor for stepping in and appointing a special prosecutor in this case.
You applaud the governor, but is he also slow to the punch here on this?
Can you repeat that?
Well,
I got a lot of background noise behind me.
I know you do, and I appreciate you being with us. I just want to know if you think the governor is doing a reactionary move here to all of this pressure, because it seems like the governor has been slow to move on this.
Yes, he was very slow to move on it. The pressure of these rallies has definitely gotten to the governor. He sees that we are not going to stop until justice is served. And as I told the city commission on last night, the line has been drawn in the sand, and we are going to stand our ground. We know that law enforcement is improperly using this particular law because it does not apply in this case. There is too much probable cause, and the city police department failed to collect major evidence that was needed in this case.
Turner Clayton Jr., how many people are there tonight? Can you tell us?
We estimate there has to be at least 30,000 people here today.
Head of the chapter of the NAACP from Florida. We're joined tonight by Turner Clayton Jr. I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. Now let's turn to Dr. James Peterson, Director of Africana Studies and Associate Professor of English at Lehigh University, and Tremaine Lee, Senior Reporter for the Huffington Post, who was at the rally in Sanford, Florida as well. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Professor, let me ask you first. What are your impressions of what you're seeing on television tonight, 30,000 people, and also what's your take on the fact that this police officer, this police chief, was not going to step down until he was pressured at a noon meeting today?
Well, first, I'm inspired by the show of support, not for the community there in Sanford, but also the rally they had, the hoodie rally they had in New York City, the one they're planning in Philadelphia for Friday at 7 p.m. I'm really inspired that people throughout this nation and really around the world are rallying around this cause, because this is probably the most egregious example of injustice that I've seen in my lifetime. So I'm happy that we're rising to the call and rising to the challenge to address this issue. Now, in terms of the police chief, that temporary piece needs to go. He needs to step down permanently, not step aside temporarily. Basically, by stepping aside temporarily, he's conceding the fact that his presence in this investigation is impeding the investigation. With that knowledge, if he was a really good criminal justice law enforcement officer, he would step down permanently so that he could be removed from this situation and we could actually take one more step towards justice for Trayvon Martin.
Tremaine Lee, what's the mood of the crowd tonight? Is there a real sense of something has to happen?
You can actually feel it under your feet. I talked to one young man earlier, and he said it reminded him of the Million Man March, the feeling of excitement and exuberance, the wave that you feel of energy coming across the crowd. It's just amazing.
Will the Sanford Police Department sit back now and wait for the grand jury to make a determination instead of doing its job and arresting George Zimmerman? What's your take on that, Mr. Lee?
Well, even before we get to that point, community leaders are hoping that the Department of Justice will get into the roots of the Sanford Police Department and start taking a look at past cases of abuse. In town hall meetings the last few days, folks have talked about being humiliated, being abused and beaten by the police unjustly. So even before we get to that point, there's a lot of hope in the community that once the Department of Justice gets in, they'll be able to turn this place upside down.
All right, and you and I talked about a sea change last night. We saw the police chief move today. We saw the governor move today. That's right. Is this now starting to get some wheels and move faster?
I mean, that's what we're seeing, actually. The will of the people seems to be bending, and I'm not sure who wants to be on the wrong side of history on this one. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see further developments in the coming days. It's just purely the will of the people and the energy and excitement behind, as the Reverend Al Sharpton said, it's a movement now. And, we'll see how it goes.
All right, Trumaine Lee and Dr. James Peterson, I appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for being with us here on The Ed Show. I wish we had more time. Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen. Share your thoughts on Twitter at Ed Show. I mean, what do you think about 30,000 people showing up there tonight? We want your tweets. Up next, do the politicians who passed the Stand Your Ground laws have the guts to repeal them? Not only in Florida, but all over the country. We'll talk to a Florida legislator who warned that the tragedies like Trayvon Martin's killing would happen. And the Obama derangement syndrome is sweeping the Republican Party. Mitt Romney and Karl Rove are caught stretching the truth yet again today. We'll set them straight. This is The Ed Show. Stay with us. We're right back.